So guys, today I got for you a collection overview of the new French niche brand that is called Olibanum, and if you've never heard of it, it actually consists out of 18 perfumes. Yes, you heard me right, there are that many of them, and I have 3 discovery kits with all the fragrances which I will be breaking down for you in this video. So definitely keep on watching for all the details, but don't forget to subscribe to my channel right now and please give this video a huge thumbs up. And once you're done with that, we can get started with these. Hello and welcome everyone to today's collection overview of this French niche brand Olibanum, which is kind of like a sister company of the pretty popular French niche house that is called BEStof Perfumes. And if you've never heard of it, definitely check out my video in which I reviewed their bestsellers, which will be linked down below in the description box, as well as other helpful information. But let's focus on the brand Olibanum, the founder of which is actually the one that stands behind BEStof Perfumes as well, and the name is Gerald. I'm very sorry for my French mispronunciation as I call it, but I find that this brand has a very cool concept and I just really want to share with you the background story of it. So in order to express the creativity and uniqueness, they chose Olibanum, a rare resin that is more precious than gold, at the very origin of the perfume. Coveted by pharaohs and kings of antiquity, this burnt offering, which adorned altars around the world in India, Africa, Europe and Mesopotamia, was believed to convey the praise of ritual, both sacred and secular. Even today, the resin purifies the atmosphere, relaxes and soothes the mind. As the signature scent of the Olibanum collection, both unveiled and essentiated, Olibanum essence blends an emblematic raw material of perfumery. That means that this Olibanum material is in all fragrances of this collection, which can be layered together or worn on their own, but there are also other materials. So from India all the way to Horn of Africa and passing through the Sultanate of Oman, the Olibanum resin is harvested by cutting into the bark of the Boswellia tree to awaken its woodsy, aromatic, balsamic, mineral, spicy and lemony tonalities. All of the Olibanum fragrances contain CO2, extracted Olibanum from Somalia, one of the most renowned varieties, and supercritical CO2 extraction entails implies treating a natural aromatic raw material with CO2 in the supercritical state. In this state, CO2 has the viscosity of a gas and the density of a liquid, which makes it an effective solvent and an ecological extraction process that is more environmentally friendly for the olfactory qualities of raw resin. And now you have the brand's story, which I find really cool, and also all the fragrances look super modern. I love that they educate you about the materials. That's for I would definitely recommend you to look them up on their official website. And now I want to dive into the discovery kits because there are so many fragrances to talk about, and I have no particular order going through them. I just want to open the first one. It looks like this, very modern, very simple, but that's kind of like the aim of this brand. By the way, I actually tried to match my look to the packaging of these fragrances, so let me know how well or not I did today. But enough of talking, let's get to the fragrances. Oh, and the first one I pulled out is actually, let's talk about this one. Qui Vegetal. So this is a leather fragrance, and all these perfumes, they're kind of like singular notes. Well, these are not solifleurs because there is Olibanum in all of them, but they are blended with other materials. So Olibanum is there, you know, for the vibe, for all the properties that I've just shared with you. But each fragrance has its own theme, and this one is a leather one, which I want to spray on myself. And these fragrances, because because they're rather, you know, more minimalistic, can be layered together, which we'll get into by the end of the video once I've, you know, run you through the entire collection. So this perfume is leathery, it's woody, it is a little bit dry, sexy, because there is a note of cumin that can smell salty sometimes. So it's slightly animalic, but not too harsh. It's not skanky, it's just a very beautiful, rather clean leather fragrance that is quite aromatic. That's why I find it's very nice to wear it, even, you know, to some formal occasions or when it's colder outside. So with that being said, let's move on from something rather cool and very, you know, strict to the fragrance that is called a Jamber. Don't know how to pronounce its name. And when you look up the pyramid, there is caramel, ginger and citruses, so that might be very exciting. But for me, this is an extremely ambery perfume. Think about Amber Extreme, think about other woody ambery molecules. There is even something slightly similar to Baccarat Roche, maybe this amber molecule. I don't get much of caramel though, it's not a gourmand fragrance for me personally. There is something slightly spicy in there, but not to the point I would say that is actually the ginger that I pick up in here. So yeah, this is a very modern, very loud amber fragrance that is quite warm and I think will be very, very suitable for men. I just don't know why, but these ultra strong ambery perfumes that project intensely, I always associate with men, but let me know if you like them or not. And we are moving on to the next one that is called Knox, and this is another rather ambery fragrance. Yeah, that is a little bit smoky, has slightly church atmosphere because it's so resinous. There is Olibanum, there's Knox, resin, benzoin, so it's warm, it's definitely wintry, nighttime, of the day perfume, you know, something cozy, something really rich and opulent, almost oriental. So it's for those who prefer, you know, these meditative and mysterious fragrances. But let's actually stay in this, you know, rather oriental Middle Eastern theme and talk about their oud, because any collection, especially if it's like soliflor or single notes, can be completed without oud, which has been, you know, one of the most popular materials in the last decade or something. And this is a very safe, a very, you know, rounded oud. It smells modern, there is a hint of rosiness in there, but it's not a rose oud perfume. It's pretty much oud. It's not smoky, it's not animalic as oud can be sometimes. That's why it's safe, you know. It is oud, you know, for the daytime. That's how I would call it. And the next fragrance is Santal. So as you've guessed by the name, it's about sandalwood, which is one of the most precious woody materials of all times. And I really enjoy this one because, well, I'll tell you. Oh yeah, so there's also cumin as in that first leather fragrance we've spoken about, but this one, it smells almost like freshly washed clothing to me personally, and I adore this feeling. It's so clean, okay, it's crisp. It's not even that woody. I know that there is peach note in there, and I cannot call it fruity, but there is something really, really uplifting in there for sure. So it's one of my favorites from the collection that I will be getting in a bigger size bottle because I want to have a few of these, maybe even all, so I can mix and match. And I will tell you about my favorites and how you can layer them in a second once we are done with the collection. And this is the last one in this discovery kit that is called Mate, and I didn't want to start with it because that was the one that I pulled out first, and that's because it's not my favorite, in fact, because yeah, it smells a little bit masculine to me, which is a little bit upsetting, because I love tea notes in perfumery, and in general I adore tea, and in here we have notes that I love genuinely, and typically I gravitate towards, you know, fig scented perfumes. I like mint in fragrances and mate as a tea note. I'm always excited about, but somehow this fragrance smells just a little bit too masculine for me, you know, like those green, very fresh, aromatic fragrances for men. So this is the one that I would actually recommend for men, especially those who love freshies, or maybe even the women who prefer rather aromatic fragrances. But we have more to discover, so let's just continue with the second one. And here I have Cardamom. So this is actually a rather spicy fragrance indeed, as the note suggests. So this Cardamom is so interesting because it's, oh yeah, in the company with lavender, with patchouli and cedarwood. So the Cardamom is very aromatic and fresh because of the lavender, but it has this, you know, rich and very deep sensation because of the patchouli. So this is like a great spicy fragrance, okay? It has like a start, like the middle part and the base. So it's quite complex on its own. And this next one is Yuzu, and I would say that this is the loudest one in the collection, believe it or not. It's probably the only citrus that they have, but oh my goodness, it is so intense. Every time I wear it, I smell it. So this is a very noticeable perfume even for the wearer. I don't know why I sprayed right here, because now I will be smelling of mandarins. Very crisp, very juicy, very mouth-watering, very summery this time. So in case you're a big fan of bright citrus fragrances, I think this is a must. It is very, very happy. So anytime I wear it, I'm smiling and I'm in a great mood, because, you know, this is like happy citrus perfume. And the next one is another favorite of mine that is called tuberose. And I like tuberose in general, but there is something very special about this one, because tuberose can be very different. It can be more like jasmine, so very, very floral, or it can be, you know, like carnal and slightly animalic. This tuberose is like the perfect balance of those tones. So it is solar, it is very, very luscious. There is something slightly green, herbaceous in there, and at the same time, you know, this opulence of the flower is very much present. So I would say that this is a very opulent and sensual floral perfume that I'm a big fan of, because it wears nicely, just as their vanilla. So as you know, I'm a huge fan of vanilla-scented perfumes. I have many videos dedicated to my favorite vanilla fragrances. And this is the one that I will be definitely getting, because it is so smooth. Like, it's the textural vanilla in which we have cade oil and iris, but it's not too powdery. I would say that this is actually rather, you know, silky, smooth, creamy, milky type of vanilla, but it's not like tonic. I don't know how to describe it. There is even something spicy and slightly burnt in there, probably because of that cade oil, but in the dry down, I guess maybe iris helps with the texture. So it is fantastic. It can be layered over many of these fragrances, you know, just to soften them and make them, you know, more pleasant to wear, because vanilla has the power of attraction. It's the fragrance that makes you feel super comforting and, you know, create this atmosphere around you. But anyway, let's move on to the iris perfume. As you might remember, it's one of my most favorite notes, and this fragrance is just a perfection. There is nothing about it that I wouldn't like. It is simple. In the composition we have iris with lily and jasmine. It doesn't smell, you know, like an old lipstick of your grandmother, because sometimes iris fragrance do that, and I think that's because they are in the company with white flowers, and those are not, you know, intense and right in your face, overwhelming kind of white floral notes. They're very, very delicate, and the iris helps, you know, with the powderiness. So the fragrance overall is not as light as you might think first, because as you wear it, the sillage and everything makes you think that you're wearing a very, very complex fragrance. So it's another one of my favorites, and the final one in this collection is Vativa. So it's not one of my favorite notes to begin with, and this fragrance is just fine. What can I tell you? If you are a fan of Vativa, you will probably enjoy it more than I do, because it's a woody, aromatic, earthy, fresh, spicy type of fragrance. Vativa in here is with geranium and lavender. So once again, a rather masculine fragrance, but all of these are truly unisex. I'm just telling you, okay, if you're a flower lover like I am, then you would enjoy that tuberose and iris. But if you're more into, you know, fresh and green fragrances, then Vativa and Mate are gonna be your gems. But we have one discovery kit left, so let's just continue with Sakura. Oh, okay, so I remember this one, but I definitely need to spray it once again because, well, this is the one that I'm still trying to figure out for myself. So it's you know, the most Olibanum-ish fragrance out of all of these, although, you know, it's in the background of each fragrance. In here you will get the most of Olibanum, so just in case it happens to be your favorite note, just in case you love churchy fragrances, those very mysterious cathedral and very maybe even gothic perfumes, you will enjoy it. It's not my favorite from the collection, but for the right mood, it's quite lovely. But as you know, I am a big fan of rose, and of course they have a rose perfume in their line. So this is a rather, you know, how should I say, a very simple rose with very transparent fruitiness in the background. So it's like a very plain rose perfume, and I think it's most beautiful when you layer it with something, because on its own it's not enough, at least for me personally, but it's just fine. It's just like a true rose soliflor. I'm more into their osmanthus. This is hands down one of my biggest favorites that I will definitely get myself for sure, because I can layer and load so many other ones on top of it. However, it is perfectly fine on its own, because I don't know how to describe it. It's almost, you know, kind of like beautifully cosmetic, fruity, apricot-y, floral, woodsy type of perfume that makes you feel so good wearing it. So once again, another fragrance that wears beautifully from the Olibanum collection. Patchouli does so too, because patchouli fragrances overall are very magnetizing for me personally, because it's one of my favorite notes. And in here we have that chocolatey type of patchouli. You might be familiar with patchouli as a note, but I'm not sure if you know that it has very different tones, and it can be more earthy and, you know, hippie-like, or it has this beautiful cacao nuance to it, which this one does. So in case you are into those warm, balsamic, very patchouli-centered perfumes, you will like it for sure, because it is loud. It projects really well, and that's where I find it's great for the winter time. But Ambrette is rather discreet, because it's kind of like a musk fragrance. Ambrette is a vegetal type of musk, if I'm not wrong, and oh my goodness, with this perfume you can't really judge too fast, because you just need to wear it. It can be a perfect base for any of these or your other favorite perfumes. It is so pleasant and, you know, mellow and gentle and like your second skin, but sexier and better. It is elevation of human body odor, skin scent. But let's end this video on the note of saffron, and it's very tricky for me personally. It can be lovely, it can be very harsh, and this saffron is pretty great. So it is a little bit leathery, it is slightly spicy, but there is vanilla in there, and I find it helps so much. Maybe even sour edge is present, that's where it's very exciting. But that was kind of like my run through the Olibanum collection, which you can tell has something for everyone. And I really love how customizable the experience is, so you can decide how much of each fragrance you want. Even the sizes are different. You can get very small sizes and they are affordable, which is great, especially if you consider the fact fact that these are environmentally friendly sourced materials that we have in here. And then you can apply, you know, for example, a rose, and then you can add a bit of oud and transform it into a Middle Eastern perfume, or go with citruses in a different direction and create a freshie, or experiment and mix 5 fragrances together, you know, like 1 spritz of patchouli and then 3 of tuberose and maybe a bit of cardamom, so you will get this spicy and very rich type of fragrance. So you can have a lot of fun with these ones, and I will be getting myself a few for sure. So let me know what's your favorite note and which ones you would like to see in their catalog. I want them to expand with violet and with jasmine because those are fantastic notes. But you leave me down below in the comment section your feedback. Are you familiar with this brand? Have you ever heard of it? If not, I hope you found this video helpful, and don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, follow me on my social media to stay in touch, and I would love to know what's your most favorite note that you would like to have like in a extra perfume. And thank you so much for watching. Definitely make sure to stay tuned and smell good. We will see each other in the next one really soon. Bye guys.